Hey, so it's about time I give up trying to make this thing get finished. Uh, really, only thing I wanted to do is get some more B-roll, and some B-roll showing stuff like, whoops, my labels, uh, you know, B-roll showing how I fix my Veripol, just B-roll here and there. I don't have any finished footage of the gig of the Welcome movie. That's what it's called. It's called Welcome. Fantastic. I'll have a link to the trailers and stuff in the description. But Street Lamp, awesome. Anyway, here's my mess of, uh, you know, it's been forever. So I'm just gonna throw this on there in the beginning, and you get what you get. It's, again, this whole channel is for me. Someone else sees it, hopefully they get some value out of it. Otherwise, whatever. Anyway, and of course I don't propose to be good on camera. My talking is like Captain Kirk sometimes, and whatever. My brain's going a little too fast for my mouth, basically, usually. But anyway, hopefully I have a couple more videos coming that I want to do, but I think I talk about it a little bit in this long video. But anyway, that's it. All right, so I had a gig. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I knew it was going to be a lot of work because it was 25 pages and basically 2.5, maybe even less than 2.5 days. It was a horror movie. It was short, and I was really impressed with the writing of it. Yvette did a great job, and I saw some of the DP Nate, his stuff, and I really liked the quality and the kind of the I was hooked. I liked it. So I did it for, I put out my day rate, but they didn't have the budget, so I took what they offered. It paid for my gas to get out there, which was Lancaster, which is a kind of a far hike for me. It covered, consumables. Not many people were paid, as far as I know, anyway. And had a bunch of dropouts, but there was Kelly was there as a grip, and Kelly turned out to be incredible. There's not many times you find people like her, with her brains, her creativity, her energy, and willingness to just she was the whole package. She's great. There's a lot of times as a grip and a gaffer where you're watching everybody else sit down and not do anything when there's a lot of work to be done, and she was doing the work. Alright, so like I said, it was the horror short, 25 pages. They had a Airbnb out in Lancaster. Nice old farmhouse. There was essentially two locations, sort of three, but two addresses. Let's put it that way. The house, then there was a barn, and then there was sort of a slaughterhouse. The barn and the slaughterhouse were kind of the same location, just two different buildings on large property. Anyway, so we got off to a pretty slow start. Not many people in the crew had worked together before, and I guess that's part of it. We couldn't get into the Airbnb until, I think it was supposed to be 2:30 or something. Now the script called for only a couple day scenes, and one was the arrival of the actors at the Airbnb, or in the script it's not really an Airbnb, but anyway, look at my hair. Ooh. All right. Yeah, it's a mess. Whatever. So anyway, there's a car scene. They're supposed to be during the day. They arrive. They get out and they go in, and that's pretty much the only day scene there is. The rest of it's supposed to be at night. We were going to start with the arrival at exterior, but by the time we got everything figured out and blocking and yada yada, we decided, okay, look, we're running out of light, so we're going to have to make everything night. I knew that the next scene was going to be in the kitchen. I had Caitlin and Kelly to help me. Well, Caitlin didn't know too much. Kelly knew a little bit. Um, she certainly knew about sandbags. It's an inside joke. She and I hit it off. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, we made everything. They made everything daytime. I mean nighttime. So I lit the porch. I had, like I said, I had Kelly and Caitlin helping. My first lesson comes here. I know I've already been planning on doing this, but labeling things in the trailer. So because they've never worked with me, they don't know my gear. You know, even if they knew what every piece of equipment was called, it was a challenge to put them to work, basically. So I gotta prioritize my labeling. That's one thing. Next, so yeah, we lit the porch. Anyway, um, I was I was trying to, because I knew at that point, I knew how late we were getting. So I was like in my head, I was like, we really got to get that kitchen lit. So I would kind of disappear and go. I hung some tubes. Square stock that I keep is really coming in handy. There's cabinets in the kitchen, and they had about an inch gap between the top of the cabinet and the ceiling. So I was able to slip some square stock in there and just use magnets for the tubes. Well, I used the Aperture MT Pros. I just, for ambient, I took I think it was a 500, and I just bounced it into the ceiling. Also, the audio person had called out or whatever, couldn't make it the whole weekend. So we were using my gear. And one of the actors is actually a tech school teacher for film and video, and she knows a thing or two. She wanted to put wireless lavs on actors, and then boom as a backup. I think that's what she wanted. So I got now my wireless lab situation is pretty much, well, I've upgraded since this gig, but I only have like some older Sennheiser wireless packs, and the receivers, you got to plug them into the wall, and they're like like an old VHS cassette. And again, I'm doing this for me because I don't want to have to explain to people what a VHS cassette is. Anyway, the second mic we were having problems with. I don't know what's going on. I haven't figured it out since. It just was not playing well with us. So, all this is like time that I wanted to be lighting and tweaking and playing with lights and getting it all dialed in and getting that extra 20%, so it was like really nice. So anyway, I guess we convinced them. I don't know, maybe I convinced them, I don't know. The decision was made to just boom it, and we recorded into my Zoom X32 32-bit float recorder from the Sennheiser boom I use. Well, I have two of them, but whatever. So anyway, we got that going. They were out shooting the exterior. I got into it a little bit, added some haze, but basically what I was doing was leaf blower and hand hazer, and that was good enough. I mean, it was kind of funny. I'm just running around with the hazer and the leaf blower, blowing it everywhere. And then at some point, I think Kelly offered to do the haze so that I could get moving on the next scene or whatever. And I did. I took her up on that because it made sense, and I was still getting to know her, but I already had trusted her at that point. Oh yeah, let's back up a minute here, because the porch, right? Another lesson learned here. The porch had like columns, and the ceiling, was probably 12, 10 to 12 feet of the porch. So what I was thinking for lighting was I wanted to light them from above with like my flex lights, just pop them up there. So what I tried was I have two, I think they're 10 or 12 foot var poles. Bought them for a gig that was requested. Never used them. There lies my mistake. Didn't use it before I went on a gig. Should be familiar with it. Was not. So I tried to put it up. It just wasn't. I mean, it just wasn't getting tight to the point where I could trust it. Even though the lights I was going to hang on it were, you know, not very heavy. I mean, I was about to go get some shims and just shim it until it did get tight, but I decided we were just going to bounce into the white ceiling and just, from either end and maybe the middle if we needed it, whatever. So that lesson learned. I still have to pull out the variables and see why. I tried to use it later on in the gig, and that didn't work either. But I got to pull it out and see if I can figure out what I did wrong. Right. So the kitchen scene was next. What did we do after that? Hallway. We did the hallway after that. Right. So, and it was kind of cool. Cool hallway. This house was pretty cool. So I tried again with the Varpol, and that didn't work out. So I just rigged something from that I should have taken a picture of for shitty rigs. Just used a square stock, put it across, made my own little soft box with one of my little. We were running really late. We were like all stressing about time. So I just used one of my little. I think I used the Zhiyun 40-watt little bulb, and I just put a big silk or whatever, fake silk or whatever to soften it out, and that was pretty good. Didn't really need any bounce or fill or edge. I would have liked to have had an edge, but I didn't have time actually. So we got that going. I can't. No, I guess that's all we did that night. Is the exterior. Yeah, I guess we did the exterior, the kitchen, and the hallway. I don't think we did anything else. But we still didn't finish until it was probably around 3:30 or so, maybe 3. By this time, I had had so much of my gear out of the trailer. It was getting spread everywhere. So I took probably an hour and just kind of ran around and organized stuff, got other stuff on charge, prepping for the next day. Finally went to bed around 4:30, and I have a problem. There was a This is like a farmhouse, and there was a rooster crowing at 4:30. That's too early. It was still pitch black. The rooster should not have been croaking at 4:30 in the morning. That's not right. Not cool. Fortunately, I can sleep through Armageddon, and the house was pretty good. I couldn't hear it inside. So, crashed on a couch and got a couple hours sleep, but got up at like 7:30. because I really, really wanted to use that time to pre-light everything. I have enough fixtures that I knew I could probably light, like, there's the dining room, the bedroom, the hallway. We had to do the hallway again, so we were trying to leave it as was, and we couldn't shoot it the night before because there was like prop slash blood needed on clothes, but then we had to shoot stuff without the blood, so it made sense. We had to do it at a later date, a later time. Dining room, bedroom, hallway again. Really, it seems like there was more. The dining room was a big scene. I have this, like, I guess it was like a fisherman's kind of net vest with like 200 pockets, and I still haven't standardized what goes in what pocket, but I wear that, and as the night goes on, I collect things, and the pockets get full, and some of those things are like metal, and some of the. Anyway, it wound up being like 50 pounds. All right, maybe 35, 40. So I'm running around like that as well. And but the thing is, being the gaffer, I should really be working with the DP and kind of pointing and directing the grips, like, hey, set this one up here, and then work with the DP, look at the frame, and kind of dial things in, get it to his liking. And it's kind of funny because I didn't, this whole gig, I barely looked at the frame. I might get an idea of what he's seeing in the frame, but not so much looking at the lighting from it, just because 25 pages in 2 days, a little over 2 days. So the pace was pretty quick. But the cool thing was this gig, and I think it's also largely in thanks to Kelly and and also the blocking and some other issues that gave me more time to play and put in like little pools of light here and there, a little splash of color there. Still not quite what I would have wanted, but I think it's going to look pretty good. I'm pretty happy, I think. We had Skylar, I can't remember his last name, come by and had a list of B-roll for him. And Nate and I had talked about it ahead of time. He's going to use my A7S3 for B-roll and some other stuff. Just in some cases we decided we could pick up a little bit of time by going with two cameras, but we didn't light for two cameras, but we kind of used the two cameras wherever we could and not see the lighting equipment in the background. But anyway, the guy, he came, I had to show him my camera, so there was more time I was not doing lighting like I wanted, which is fine. I mean, all this is fine. I'm just saying this is how it happened. It was kind of cool because I like variety. Anyway, um, so yeah, it's kind of funny because at one point I had realized I hadn't seen him. I gave him my camera, my Sackler tripod. Like, we're talking like $10,000, $12,000 worth of equipment with the lens and everything. And I hadn't seen him for what seemed like 2 hours. He was cool. He was there though. He'd run around getting stuff. Never saw what he filmed because we had to pull it off and get the card ready for the next day. But anyway, there was some other stuff that I didn't. It wasn't in the script, but Nate had some ideas, and he had Skylar do sort of this thing, a blackout kind of with a couple of the characters, like the mother and the Yoder, the mute uh, psychopath. Anyway, didn't know about it, so in the middle of everything else going on, And again, this is why I am so thankful that Kelly was number one who she is and that she was there because they told me what she wanted. They wanted. I kind of had an idea, and I was like, "Look, I gotta be working on this because the rest of the crew's going to be waiting." So I pulled out a couple of my like backdrop rigs, um, and I gave her some. I actually, it's kind of weird. I was making road cases, so I have some carpet and that's good blackout material. It was black, of course. So I gave her that and some duvetine and some sheets and some spring clamps and said, "Have at it." I kind of told her what I was thinking, and she went to town and knocked it out of the park. But then they needed lighting. So in the interest of time, I grabbed a couple of my GVM RGB panels, threw some batteries on them, and almost gave the actor a stroke from the flashing. But he didn't because we had him close his eyes until I could connect my app. Oh, and that was one thing. We were running around the house pulling the smoke alarms off. I really hope there was no hidden cameras. I was looking, I didn't see any. Nate and I were we didn't have to talk much. We kind of got each other. So that was cool. He would start to say something, and then I would try to clarify him, like, so maybe like this, and I put it in my own words, and he's like, yeah. Like, so I knew fairly early on that we were on the same page and kind of working well together. Plus, he hardly ever asked for anything. So that meant that I was giving him what he wanted ahead of time. That's what I'm always trying to do is like think ahead so no one has to ask for anything. I just already provided it. That's my plan. Or at least, with my little fishing vest with the 200 pockets, if someone asks for something, I can just pull it out. Of course, by the end of the night, I have to pull it out, whatever the contents of the pocket out, and fish around till I find the thing. Saturday we did the bedroom too.
And action.
And we weren't supposed to touch. This was on the second floor. This was a challenge that I was concerned about ahead of time because I didn't do a location scout, but Vet did. Sent pictures. Plus, it was Airbnb, so there was pictures on Airbnb website. So I was looking at that, and I knew the bedroom scene was supposed to be night. So I'm like trying to figure out how we're gonna black it out because we needed to shoot that part during the day. For you could juggle things around, but still everything else was in the night. So had to black out stuff anyway. Well, it's on the second floor, like 20 feet up. Tallest stands, my combos go to 15 feet. Yeah, I could probably extend another 4 or 5 feet with a boom arm or combination or whatever. I could have used speed rail, whatever, but then it's not very stable. Um, Safety. When I first saw the pictures, I was like, okay, well, I just go out one of the windows and you know use like a 4 by floppy, just tape it or something. Nope. They and I could see why because the place needs a new roof fairly soon. So they didn't want people walking on it. They didn't say that specifically, but they said they didn't want us messing with the windows. So what we did, this was my plan B. I had planned ahead of time. I just didn't get to the dollar store to stock up. Um, I got a bunch of the black foam core and just put it inside, cut it to put it inside the window treatments, and that's how we blacked out the windows. My practical kit came in quite handy this time. We used the aperture bulbs, we used a ton of my little light guys, throw some like little pockets of light here and there. There was like a couple of times where like they opened cabinets or whatever, and I had them lit up inside just right. I'm pretty happy with that. I don't remember this, but one other thing that I did not have was a lint roller. And also, my steamer was not on my truck because my wife used it. Lint roller needs to be on my truck. Don't know what it was specifically for, but I can think of a bazillion reasons why I need it. So, I'm gonna get a couple. One thing, this gig, I had so much of my stuff off of the trailer, it was ridiculous. And partially because I was trying to pre-light, I really could use another 4 C stands or so. All right, let's say 10. But four more would have been pretty good for this. Dining room scene, that was fun. I got to use my Pixel 2, I used a bunch of MT4, I'm sorry, MT Pros and a couple of my P4C Pixel tubes, 4 foot Pixel tubes for like the fireplace. I think it's going to turn out good. It's going to need some color grading, but the second night, um, the team's really gelling. Everybody's working together pretty well. There were still times where people were holding chairs down instead of moving equipment, which is fine. That's not their job. I mean, in an indie thing that's not union, well, the thing is, we're if everybody works together, you're going to get done sooner. Only 2 people are moving gear, like myself and Kelly, and then it's going to take a little longer. Everybody was tired, including us. But like, me, when I get tired, I'm like, well, we have to do X, Y, Z before I can stop. So I just push on. Although I'm getting older, my daughter went to cosmetology school and they, for hair and makeup and nails and all that stuff. And for the hair, they start out with these mannequins with hair, and they do the haircuts on the mannequins. Well, one Christmas, because I was majorly into Halloween, she gave me a box of heads, mannequin heads that she had cut. So I don't know, it was probably 12 or so, maybe more, I don't know. So I have a bunch of them when I'm lighting once in a blue moon, because I want to see, I'll set it up and then I'll see how the light hits, make sure I got the Rembrandt, lighting going or whatever I'm trying to do. Well, I also had some Halloween stuff in there because one of I don't know, a couple years back, friend asked me to bring some of my animatronics out for a hayride thing, and I had some masks, and we had some people running around goofing off. And so the second night, Nate slept uh, on the living room couch, and I had one of the heads in a sort of white clowny mask with some hair. So put it on a light stand and stuck it outside the window of the living room where he went to bed. Unfortunately, the wind kicked up and it blew over, so he didn't see it at night. But I woke up before anybody and noticed that, so I went and got a sandbag. We'd used all my sandbags at one point too. So anyway, I put a sandbag on it and put it back up, and I'm doing stuff in the morning, running around, trying to be quiet. Um, Mary came down, and I'm like, "Did you happen to look outside the window?" She did, and Nate's basically sleeping on the couch underneath the window, and she's like, bust up laughing. Then another actress came down, and she saw it as she came down. Then Nate's alarm went off, and we kind of were there getting some gear, I was doing something, I don't know, but they kind of caused him to look out the window, and it was so funny because he just kind of looked, he just like stared, and then it kind of goes back, looks again. What the? It wasn't the reaction I was expecting, but it was funny. I feel like I'm missing some stuff some lessons learned, but I mean, this was like 2 weeks ago at this point. I wish I had done this post mortem sooner. I didn't have it in me. Um, I still haven't gone through the trailer and organized and made sure that I have all my gear. All right, where did I leave off? Yeah, by the way, yeah, I've been trying to hide smoking. This is my story. This is what this is kind of for me. So because this is public, which maybe I shouldn't make it public. But anyway, because this is public, I've been trying to hide the cigarettes. So Sunday, right, we had to be out of the Airbnb by, I think it was 11. And that was Sunday morning, was the day of the prank that I pulled with the little guy in the window. So anyway, running around cleaning up stuff. Really, it was me. The only people that really wound up helping was myself, Nate. Mary helped, but she did so in a lot, actually. But she did so in different ways. She didn't touch the gear. Oh, I gotta go back. I gotta go back. Hold on, this is freaky, right? So the first hallway scene, right? They put some props on the walls, some crosses, and they were Catholic crosses because they still had Jesus on the cross. So that was like, on the wall and going up the stairs. Well, as the story progresses, it gets creepier and creepier. I'm not going to give away the plot because you really got to see it. It's going to be a great film. But it gets creepier. So later on, it gets creepier. And the second hallway scene, the crosses are now upside down. I'm not sure if I really was. Well, I know I wasn't aware of that, but not crazy being a Christian about that. But it is what it is. I had agreed, so we're gonna do it. And I don't like messing with that stuff. But anyway, now look, I know the the tacky stuff that they put on was put on closer to the center of mass when they were correctly hung on the wall. Add to that the fact that they were removed and no new tacky stuff was put on, but it was still in the center of mass for them being correctly put on when they were put on upside down. So I know that, that is the physical reason why this happened. But, 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 we're filming and doing stuff and discussing blocking or what, I don't know, whatever. And one of the crosses falls off, hits the stairs, breaks into like multiple pieces. Everyone's just like, so yeah, that was the thing. That was another thing I did not have on the truck, super glue, because I was going to try and fix the cross. We're going to try and super glue it together. All right, discuss that for a little bit, how kind of creepy it was, and we decided to go with just one, I think. And I don't know what we decided. Anyway, maybe 10 minutes after the first one, the second one falls off and breaks. Everyone's like, what? um, and again, physics. That's the reason. However, whatever. So the driving scene, three actors in the back seat, the camera and the handheld in the passenger seat. The audio was boom, and it was being recorded 32-bit. I gotta find out if that's working out. In any case, so what I did was I used the Amran P4Cs, which are the pixel tubes, 4-foot pixel tubes, on either side. I might have already talked about this. Anyway, on either side of the car, attached with magnets, I had duvetine underneath well, between the car and the magnet, so I didn't scratch the paint. So I had those two. Then I used a couple of my little, LED, RGB LED handheld, like little tiny things for light, just to light them. And we were shooting Sony FX3. Anyway, so yeah, we had the dual native, 12,800 or whatever ISO. So really good in the dark. Didn't need much light. Plus, horror, dark. Had some cues we wanted to look like we were stopped at a light, and then got going. That was it. That was pretty simple, right? So what I did was I used my Aperture MT ones. I don't know, like the little 1 foot pixel tubes. Those things rock, man. Those are awesome. So I just had it on red, turned away, and the deal was well, actually, hold on, let me back up, because I was trying to set this up inside a Slink, with all the cues and stuff. First problem I had was with the tubes. I was trying to control the amount of, send one light down the tube, and then delay for X number of seconds. I was okay if it didn't have a random, but I couldn't figure out how to do that under the gun there on the scene. I wound up spending almost a half an hour trying to get Citus Link working the way I wanted, and basically mainly had to pull the cues myself. So anyway, I couldn't quite control the lights. They would just come and start over again. Actually, I think there was a small delay. After that, obviously, when you come to a stop, the lights aren't going to be passing, so I need to stop the tube lights. I'm going to just call them the street lamps. Needed to stop the street lamps while the red light came on. When the green light came on, start them up again. So, I had everything set up inside a Slink to start and stop. I just couldn't control, I couldn't hit one button and go to the next cue, which would, ultimately the way I would have had it set up is one button for red light, which would, stop the street lamp tubes and turn on the red light, or fade up the red light actually, and then another button for the green light, which would then change from red to green all of a sudden, and then fade the green out because the car is driving by, and then start the tubes all with, so it should have been two clicks, because really, two cues. Couldn't figure out how to do that. So I'm going to spend some time playing with Citus Link and trying to figure out how to do that. That's one problem, I have so much gear, and because I have a day job, I don't use it all the time. So I don't get to know my gear as well as I should. I really need to use my gear more, so that when I'm out on the field, it just happens. I don't have to try and figure it out and spend a half an hour and realize, got to do this manually. Whatever. So, but it was quite comical. I'm 6'2", and it was really cold that night, so I had sweatshirt, my leather jacket, and then I had my grip kind of vest with the 200 pockets in it over top of it. Now, we used a vet's car, and she's short, so just for me to get in, we had to move the seat back a little bit. So we moved the seat back as minimum as possible just to get me in, because we needed as much room as we could get. So I'm stuffed in there. What else happens in a car scene? Well, the car moves, right? But if it's parked, it's not moving. So, and yeah, the camera was handheld, so there's going to be some movement, but that's not it, right? You got the actors would be moving somewhat independently, like bouncing around with the car. And yeah, at the same time-ish, so the car should be shaking. Well, and I did have someone offer to shake it. Kelly, of course, because she's the bomb. But okay, enough. You know, listen to this doggy. Get doggy. One more. So I'm in the car, stuffed in the car, and I'm like bouncing around, trying to shake the car. I don't know how well I did because I was trying not to make the sound because I was also monitoring the audio. So I'm monitoring the audio, making the car bounce, and doing the lighting cues. It was fun. So I realized that I just kind of cut off talking about it, and I thought I had all the talking head footage that I needed for the post-mortem of the welcome shoot. And I just looked at the timeline because I was going to finish up and put all the B-roll in and stuff. And that's when I realized I just stopped talking. I think I talked about the car thing. I don't know if we knew this before when I was recording it before, but they weren't happy with it. Let's put it that way. Not so much the performance, but whatever. I guess the whole package, really. So we're going to reshoot the car scenes, which works for me because, well, at this point we got snow here, so you know we're beginning in February now. This as I'm recording this. Yeah, by this point I've already created what I'm calling PMS, Poor Man's Sink, because of the poor man's process with the cars. Right, I have like 4. Amran PT4Cs, I don't know, Amran tubes, pixel tubes, and they run off of DMX. So I made a little sugar that looks at it has a light sensor, light and color sensor, and I probably went overboard and used the good one. I could probably make a spectrometer out of it, which is why I bought a second one. But anyway, where was I going with that? I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, the PMS, I'm calling it, Poor Man's Sink. PMS, I love it. So we're going to use, when we reshoot, we're going to use projectors because green screens, you know, reflections off of shiny things, and the cars have shiny things and all that, so it makes it a little harder with the green screen. So I have 3 projectors. I've rigged them up. I'm going to put a video. I've already been getting footage of me doing stuff, so I'll put a video of all that stuff out, but for now I just got to finish this. So what it does is it has a light sensor and it reads the colors on the screen, right? And our scene is at night, so this will work. It's not so much for day, but so night, what we want, night, you know, a driving scene at night, you know, you're going to be passing under street lamps and stuff. So I want the sensor detects when there's a big change in intensity, and it captures the color, and it sends all that stuff to the tube to make it look like a street lamp. And you know, because I'm me, I took it a little too far and went nuts with it. I had to on the first version I had to like kind of pare it back because I didn't have as many inputs as I had controls for. So I pared it down and got it working, and now I'm almost done with version 2. I just have a little, I went wireless for the sensor, and that's causing some issues. I haven't been able to get accurate numbers out of it for some reason, but I'm going to rig it up and just see what the DMX, I'm going to see how it's doing, because I did give myself override controls. So like I have a whole, anyway, that's another video. Right now in my personal life, ran out of oil because it has been so cold, and we were going through oil really a lot faster than normal, and ran out of oil. So I went and got diesel, put it in the tank. Wouldn't start up. So I figured, okay, probably sucked some gunk in. So I started taking it apart to clean it out. It looked pretty clean. There was a bunch of gunk, as it turns out, but I think it was so cold that the lines got gummy. Anyway, 3-4 days now. I've been working on it. Not just me. I had a friend who went to school for stuff, and last night he had his father-in-law come, who's owned a company for 30 years, got it running, and it ran for a while, but it didn't run overnight. It stopped. So I don't know. I'm going to replace the nozzle, because that's the one thing we didn't do. We did the filter and the pump, and we didn't do the nozzle. It looked nice, but I'm gonna do that and see if we can get it going. In the meantime, I'm gonna edit, throw all the B-roll in here and call this thing a day so that I can work on the other videos. Anyway, bye.